So I've interviewed literally thousands of software related candidates over the last 20 years, literally thousands, through video, through phone, and in person. And one thing that is definitely a growing trend is the rate of fake candidates. Either these are candidates who are not qualified for the job and they're gunning for a job that they're hoping they can lie their way through the interview process and get, but they're not going to be qualified to do it, or they're planning on outsourcing the work to somebody overseas and getting paid that way. Or even worse, could be a situation where they're actually planning on getting access to sensitive proprietary information from your organization or from your client's organization and selling it back to somebody else, perhaps in a different country. Whatever the case is, as a recruiter, it is your responsibility to be the gatekeeper and to protect your client and your organization and your hiring managers from allowing these people to access them. You don't want them wasting time interviewing people like this. You don't want them wasting time engaging in offers with them. And you definitely don't want them to somehow actually get hired and start working in your company. So here are some tips and tricks that have helped me to identify so many fake candidates that I at one point was getting hung up on 3 to 5 times a week in a busy period. So let's start with the actual resume. Here are some red flags you can look for. Understand this, that fake candidates are going to try to make it difficult for them to be identified. They will often not put a last name. You'll just get a first name, or you'll just get a last initial. You may not get a LinkedIn profile, or if there is a LinkedIn profile, it's very bare. There's not much information. There's no significant network. There may not be a photo. Now, that in and of itself may not be a deal breaker, but it is one indicator that you can consider along with other things that I'll mention in this video to help you make your decision about that candidate. You will not often see a GitHub or a Stack Overflow or any kind of link to a portfolio that might demonstrate the quality of work that this candidate can produce. There won't be a detailed address. Maybe you'll just get a city or a province or even just a country or nothing at all. Again, making it difficult to track this person down and to know who they are or to see if you have any common connections. When it comes to them describing their experience on the resume, you'll get often a very long list of technology. Sometimes it feels like there's every technology on the market listed on the resume. To a rookie recruiter, that might actually be very appealing because you might think, wow, this person knows so many things. I can't wait to submit them to my client or to the hiring manager because they're going to love this person. They're so smart. They have so much experience. False. Very often, it's just a list of keywords that they dump or copy and paste just so that their keywords would get picked up in Boolean searches. So it increases the chances of the resume showing up on the screen of a recruiter. How they describe their experience might not be in any particular order. It can be very copy and paste. Sometimes the bullets don't align, the font is inconsistent, the alignment is off. That's also a pretty bad sign. Here's an interesting one. If you scroll down to the bottom of their resume where they were just starting their career, there may not actually be any university or college education listed there. But if there is, right out of school, what were they doing in their first position? Often these fake resumes forget to consider that new graduates would be expected to start in a more junior position and gradually take on more responsibility and work their way up the ladder. If their first position out of school lists and reads as a senior position, that's a big red flag. Now let's say you're on the fence and you want to give the candidate a shot. You book them for an interview, either on the phone, in person, or through video. Here are some things that you can look for. Number one, do they immediately try to command the conversation? Do they immediately start jumping into their experience and listing off all of these technologies, or do they let you decide how you're going to structure the interview? If they jump right into trying to impress you and get through all of this technical jargon, often what they're trying to do is just check that off your list and not give you a chance to probe or to ask follow-up questions, so that in your mind you're like, wow, this person knows so much. They keep listing off all this advanced technology and it seems like they've done so much of it, And I guess they've already covered that, so there's no need for me to ask the rest of my questions. So it's really important that you're able to command the interview and enforce the structure and the flow that you had planned. You should start with questions about them, like where they live, um, what their compensation expectations are, what their immigration status is in the country, and how long of a notice they might need to move positions, things like that. And then you can move into walking through their resume, making sure that the story checks out, understand why they left positions for other positions. If there's no significant reason, that's also concerning. If there are long gaps, that should also be addressed. And here's where it gets really interesting. You have to learn how to ask follow-up probing questions and not just defaulting to this old strategy of asking candidates, how many years of experience do you have with X, Y, or Z? How good are you with Java? How much do you know about AI? And just letting them answer the question how they like. You have to follow up with more specific questions and sort of put them on the spot to make sure that they're legit. As an example of that, you might see that they've listed both Angular as well as React, and as well as just plain vanilla JavaScript. You may ask them questions like, what version of Angular are you familiar with? When and where did you use it? What was different between the more recent versions and the earlier versions? What is the difference between React and Angular? Why do you prefer one over the other? Why was this version used in this project and that framework or library used in that other project? You might ask them things like, hey, you're a Java developer. Okay, what frameworks have you worked with? And say they say Spring, you might ask them, okay, what modules have you used? When and where? What do they do? What's the difference between this and this? And here's the thing, you don't have to be a senior software engineer yourself. You don't have to know how to actually code or use any of these technologies to understand whether this candidate is just BSing or they actually know what they're talking about. Of course, the more experience you get, the more you learn, the better you get at that, and the more authority you can speak with. Other things you can look out for is the connection quality. In today's day and age, there's literally no reason why they can't have a clear audio and video connection. But if the video is really blurry and it feels like the camera is underwater, or there might be like a mustard stain that they left on their camera lens, if you can't hear them properly, it sounds like they're like in a 1990 whatever dial-up internet connection, and it's lagging every time you ask a question. It takes them like 10 seconds to even respond. These are often techniques and strategies used by scammers to deter you from asking more detailed follow-up questions. And it will leave you wondering whether or not the candidate actually doesn't know the answer, or if they just can't hear you and understand you properly. And it will delay the interview and make you kind of just assume based on the information on the resume and their really quick technical jargon preamble that they're worth putting through to the hiring manager, when in fact they're not. Don't be afraid if the connection is choppy to say, look, I think we should rebook this interview because I can't hear you properly and I can't ask you the questions that I planned to. When you start probing, when you start challenging, when you start asking follow-ups, when you start asking for examples and their opinion on detailed technical concepts, that is when you're going to find that fake candidates are going to try to intimidate you. They're going to try to bully you. They're going to act like they can't hear you. They're going to act like there's a connection issue. And if you keep pressing, yes, they are going to disconnect and hang up on you. That may feel really shocking at first. You may even feel like you did something wrong, but trust me, it's a good thing. If that starts to happen to you, congratulations, you are moving up the ladder and becoming a more competent technical recruiter. Keep in mind that as artificial intelligence advances and starts to be used by scammers that are acting as job applicants, there will be other ways that they can game the system. So it's so important as a recruiter to keep on learning, keep on following the trends, and keep on upping your game. That's all I have to share with you today in this video, but I'm really interested in hearing about your experiences. Have you ever hired a fake candidate that was caught after starting the job? Have you ever had a candidate hang up on you? What are some of your tips and tricks on identifying these fraudulent applicants? Thank you so much for